What's up everyone, I'm CallumOnToast, and in today's video I'm going to be showcasing some battles in the Open Ultra League submitted to the channel by Rolling the Heat, who's running a double legendary flying team, both of which got buffed last season, with Enamorus having access to Fairy Wind, and of course Galarian Moltres having access to Sucker Punch. But this trainer is running them as an ABA style team, with Miltank as that third Pokemon. Now before we get into the battles, I want to give a quick couple of shout outs, firstly to Alan, who donated $20 twice and gifted 20 memberships, and to Lord Itachi, who also donated at the very end of yesterday's live stream. As always, I really appreciate the support, and with that being said, let's just get into the question of the day. What is your favourite legendary Pokemon to run in the Open Ultra League? Let me know in the comment section down below, and with that being said, let's get into the battles now. So heading into the first battle, leading Enamorus into Virizion. So this is an amazing lead matchup for us. The opponent safe swaps into Ampharos. Now, we don't have the best response here in Miltank. However, we are fairly neutral into this matchup. Unless they're running Focus Blast, I think we should be fine. We go for the Ice Beam, and they have actually farmed up to the potential Focus Blast. We're going to shield, and it is the Focus Blast. That is a huge shield there. We are now going to fire off the second Ice Beam straight away. You can see we're actually not running Body Slam. I don't mind this. The coverage of Thunderbolt and Ice Beam is very strong in the Open Ultra League. At this point, even a Sacred Sword will not get the KO. The opponent does fire off the Sacred Sword there. We can now fire off an Ice Beam, and Ice Beam going to hit for super effective damage. Ice Beam is going to be no-shielded by the opponent. A second Ice Beam, if we reach it, probably will get the KO from this range, and the opponent is happy to sacrifice Virizion as they've got Heliolisk in the back. Honestly, a bit of a core breaker to this team. Of course, we are a double flying team, so into a double electric team. Despite having a great lead here, this is still going to be very tricky for us, but we fire off the Fly. Fly is going to be shielded by the opponent, but we're able to make it to a second Fly. Huge for us. Fly number 2, gonna be no shielded. We can now come in with Galarian Moltres. We're actually going to no shield this. The opponent goes for Parabolic Charge. They don't get the defense buff though, and that will mean we can just safely shield up the next charge move, go for the Sucker Punch farm down. We're able to take them out there, and we're able to take that game. Into next battle, we see Enamorus into Galarian Weezing. So Galarian Weezing is typically the best Fairy Pokemon into other Fairy Pokemon, as it does, of course, resist Fairy, but Fly still hitting for huge damage here. We are going to shield as the opponent's going to go for the Play Rough. We can now very comfortably outpace them to the next charge. But of course, they could go for like a Brutal Swing, but Brutal Swing not going to do much damage here. And we are now going to swap, catch the next charge move onto our Miltank. Now, Miltank is very bulky in the Ultra League. They're going to come in with a Galarian Moltres. That's absolutely fine with us. We can fire off either charge move here. I believe Thunderbolt and Ice Beam going to do the exact same amount of damage and cost the same amount of energy. They are basically just elemental clones of each other. We're going to no-shield this. The opponent full sends the Brave Bird, but now we can come in with an Enamorus, go for that Fairy Wind farm down, come out with another Fly loaded. So if they come back in with the Weezing here, we can fire off the charge move straight away, but we can actually also over farm here. So we go for the Fly. Fly is going to be enough damage to get the KO, and the opponent's got a second Dark and Flying type Pokemon. We bank the Dazzling Gleam here, and this should be game over. We can just safely no-shield the first charge move. The opponent goes for the Oblivion Wing here. They will have to fire off another charge move. We can just full send the Brave Bird, because either they let us go and we get the KO, or they end up shielding and they can just fully farm us down here, or they can fire off a charge move. Either way does not matter, as Enamorus is absolutely loaded. We've got the Dazzling Gleam. We can fire it off straight away. Of course, super effective damage, easily gets the one shot, and we're able to take that game. But I did also very much like the team on the opponent's end there. Into next battle, great lead, and the opponent safe swaps into Drifloon. We can absolutely hard punish them with the Miltank here. We can fire off a charge move, and honestly, now we're debuffed, this might be even better for us, because we can go for a huge rollout farm down here. They can fire off another couple of Icy Winds, not going to matter. It's not going to enough damage to take us out here. So we are going to come out with an absolute heap of energy. We are already at over 100 energy here, and of course we don't have to shield once again. The opponent can come back in with their lead Pokemon, but they are actually going to come in with a Registeel, so we're going to go for the Thunderbolt. We are triple debuffed here, so this is really not going to do much damage at all. We don't really want them to fully farm us down there, so I do agree with swapping out there into the Moltres, baiting out the Shadow Flygon once again. We are actually going to shield as they fire off the Dragon Claw here. I guess we realize Moltres is the only Pokemon that's really going to deal meaningful damage up against the Registeel, so we fire off an Ancient Power. Ancient Power is is going to be shielded, but now we can full send a Brave Bird, and Brave Bird going to be no shielded. It gets the one shot. They come back in with the Registeel, and we are, of course, dealing neutral damage with the Sucker Punches, so we're actually going to shield up the Focus Blast here. This way we can now get off another Brave Bird, and Brave Bird, it's going to be resisted, but it's going to do decent damage up against the Registeel. We're now going to swap back into the Miltank, and the opponent continues to overfarm. Thunderbolt is going to grab the final shield from the opponent, and at this point we should be looking fine here. Of course, the opponent going to fire off the Focus Blast, get the KO there. We can come back in with the Enamorous, go straight for the Fly here. We don't need to bother going for the Dazzling Gleam. Fly doesn't quite get the KO, but they cannot store back-to-back charge moves. So, of course, Zap Cannon gets the KO. We can come in, 2 Sucker Punches, takes out the Registeel, and we're able to take that game. Into next battle, we see a Clefable in the lead, so this is fine with us. We're going to fire off the Charge Move on the potential CMP tie with a Moonblast from the opponent, and the opponent lets that first move go through. We're going to shield this. The opponent actually running Meteor Mash there, which would definitely KO us because Enamorous, if you don't know, is a very attack-weighted Pokemon. We go for a second fly there, and probably going to look to catch the next Charge Move onto our Miltank. Once again, perfect catch there. Meteor Mash, not going to do too much damage there, but they come in with a Shadow Golurk. Now, we can fire off the Ice Beam. We are actually going to shield this as the opponent is going to go and full send the Dynamic Punch. Very nice shield there. We can now full send the Ice Beam. And of course, Ice Beam going to hit for super effective damage. And it actually puts them into rollout farm down range there. They could have fired off a Shadow Punch, but it's double resisted. It would not get the KO. We now go for an Ice Beam, get the KO there as well. And we're going to swap into our final Pokemon. They do have a shield advantage, but we're still looking fine here. The opponent going to fire for Charge Move. They go for the Ice Beam. Ice Beam actually, honestly, might put us into farm down range, but we're going to go for a Brave Bird here, give them less farm, and the opponent is going to shield. They can now farm us down there. Maybe we should have gone for the Ancient Power, but either way, we're going to come in with our Enamorous, I do believe, here, and the opponent is going to make a huge mistake there, throwing on CMP. They could have easily taken us out, but Fly will get the KO, and we're able to take that game. Yeah, I guess maybe the opponent just didn't realize just how attack-weighted Enamorous is. But into the next battle, another fairy in the lead, but another different fairy, this time Tapu Fini, which, I mean, I have not really played the Ultra League much, but I do know that in Great League metas, Tapu Fini's usage has definitely gone down since Surf did, of course, get a slight nerf to the amount of energy that it takes to get to. But either way, we go for a Dazzling Gleam. We actually swap into our Miltank. Don't know if that was necessary, but we bait out a Guzzlord, which is kind of okay for us because, of course, Enamorous is going to have a great time, but Moltres does kind of struggle because we are running Sucker Punch. But either way, we can still fire for an Ice Beam. Ice Beam is going to be no shielded by the opponent, and we can reach another Ice Beam here before the opponent can take us out. So Ice Beam number 2 will be grabbing the final shield from the opponent, and they can't commit to a full farm down either, meaning we can just let the Miltank go down here as they go for a Dragon Claw. We come back in with an Amorous, and it's going to be game over as they've got Talonflame as their third and final Pokemon. We're just going to play it safe, use our shield there. They go for a Flame Charge, fine with us. We can go for an Ancient Power here. We actually could have overfarmed more than this, but either way, Ancient Power gets the one shot. It's double super effective damage, and a Dragon Claw will not get the KO from this range, and even if it did, it wouldn't really matter, as we've got an Amorous in the back, but we do hang on. We can fire off the Brave Bird, and Brave Bird easily gets the KO, and we're able to take that game. Into next battle, a Shadow Gliscor in the lead. So this is fine with us since they are running Sand Attack. Sand Attack obviously going to be double resisted here. The opponent goes for an Aerial Ace, and you can see an Aerial Ace, not a particularly good move, does so much damage up against our Enamorous, but we can go for the Fly, dealing huge damage in return. Fire off a second Fly straight away. Fly number 2 is going to be no shielded. We get the KO there. They come in with a Shadow for Alligator, and we're able to reach another Fly. Fly number 3 will be shielded. We now come in with our Miltank, and we are, of course, going to double resist the Shadow Claw damage. The opponent fires off a Hydro Cannon there, fine with us. We can very comfortably tank another Hydro Cannon as well, and we're not in range for them to farm us down, so I do imagine the opponent will eventually try and swap out of this matchup, but they're staying in for now. We go for a Thunderbolt. Nope, the opponent just fully sacrificing for Alligator, but we're able to make it to another charge move, so the opponent does throw immediately, but we're going to shield up the Night Sash, go for the Thunderbolt, and then look to swap into our Moltres. So Thunderbolt is going to be shielded by the opponent. We can come in with the Moltres, and it's going to be game over as the opponent can fire off a charge move. No one charge move will be taking us out there. They can fire off a second charge move, but instead they opt to overfarm, allowing us to make it to a Brave Bird. Brave Bird gets the one shot, and we're able to take that game. Into next battle, an amazing lead matchup for us, and even better for us, the opponent is choosing to stay in with the Guzzlord, so we go straight for the Fly. Fly, gonna deal big damage there. They could be running Sludge Bomb, so we're actually going to shield this. And the opponent is running Sludge Bomb, full coverage, so good shield there. They now swap into a Galarian Weezing. Again, going straight for the Fly, dealing big damage there. And probably going to look to catch the charge move. Or actually, never mind, we're going to stay in with the Enamorous. Fire off another Fly. Fly is going to be shielded by the opponent. And now we swap into our Miltank, catching the charge move as the opponent fires off a Brutal Swing. Brutal Swing, not going to do much damage there. They're going to have to full stand their nuke to do any meaningful damage. And the opponent goes for a Hyper Beam, which is absolutely crazy, but we can still hang on here as Miltank, very bulky, like I mentioned in the Ultra League. We get the KO there, and they come in with a rollout Donphan, so makes sense as to why they stayed in with a Guzzlord. If they swapped into Donphan, that still would have been a very bad matchup for them, but we can now come in with our Galarian Moltres. Gonna no-shield the first charge move. They're actually running Play Rough, so this opponent is caught us off guard with 3 very interesting nuke moves, but I don't think it's going to matter in the end, as we can swap into our Enamorous, fire off the Fly here, and we did bank a charge move on the Moltres, so we grab the final shield. We can just safely no shield in this matchup. The opponent fires off the Trailblaze there, but we've got the Brave Bird already loaded, and of course, once again, Brave Bird gonna get the KO up against the Donphan, and we're able to take that game. Into the next battle, a fairly neutral-ish matchup, both hitting for resisted fast move pressure. We are, of course, slightly spammier. We go for the Fly. Fly is going to grab a shield from the opponent, but we're definitely going to respect the damage as well coming from the Venusaur, and the opponent is going to full send the Sludge Bomb there before swapping into Shadow for Alligator. We're going to fire off a Fly here, and we are probably going to look to swap into our Miltank after landing the Fly, looking to catch a charge move. Unfortunately, it doesn't work out, but it doesn't really matter, as we were going to have to tank a Hydro Cannon, well, 2 Hydro Cannons anyways. So, yeah, the catch not really working out doesn't make a difference there. However, I don't know if we're going to be able to go for a full farm down, and we are just barely not able to do so, which is definitely painful for us. We do finally get the farm down there, but we had to use our final shield. They're going to come in with a Primarina running Waterfall. We're going to go straight for the Thunderbolt there. The opponent swaps into Venusaur. We're going to bank the next Thunderbolt. Instead of going for the Ice Beam, swap back into an Amorous, go for the Fly, grab that final shield from the opponent, and now we're looking to be in a much better position as the opponent goes for Frenzy Plant, getting the KO, but we can come in with our Galarian Moltres. Of course, the opponent will be going for a Sludge Bomb here. Sludge Bomb hitting for neutral damage. It does some decent damage there, but we are just going to full send the Brave Bird straight away. Brave Bird will, of course, get the KO there. They come back in with the Primarina, and they will have to throw a charge move. Otherwise, we're making it to the Ancient Power, but as we've already mentioned, Thunderbolt was banked on the Miltank as long as it pops up there, which it did just barely. It looked like we might have struggled, but either way, we get off the Thunderbolt. Thunderbolt gets the KO, and we're able to take that game. Into the next battle, we're going to see a Clefable in the lead once again. So once again, going to fire off the Fly on the potential CMP tie with a Moonblast, and the opponent is not going to throw straight away. They're going to overfarm here, fire off the charge move, and the opponent does still full send the Moonblast though, so we can fire off a Fly here, outpace them to the next charge move. Fly gonna be shielded. We're now gonna swap into our Miltank, and once again, just using it as a damage sponge. Again, they full send the Moonblast, but we do tank that pretty comfortably. Now they come in with a Gastrodon, not ideal for us as we are running Rollout as a fast move, which is resisted damage, and the best we can throw is a neutral non-stab Ice Beam. So we're just going to no-shield at this point. If they go for Body Slam, it probably won't get the KO. And they do go for Body Slam, and it does not take us out there, which is very nice. We can now, of course, go for the Ice Beam. Ice Beam, going to be no-shielded. Honestly, yeah, we come in with the Galarian Moltres here, and we can, of course, tank these Body Slams very comfortably. And we can go for a full farm down, so the opponent realizes, actually, there's no point letting them farm me down here. I'm going to come in with my Feraligatr, but we're going to shield. They go for a Hydro Cannon there, absolutely fine with us. We can now full send a Brave Bird here. Brave Bird is going to be no-shielded by the Feraligatr. They're probably going to come in with the... No, never mind. They come in with the Gastrodon. So we can swap out there, bank a charge move, I think. Gonna, of course, let the Body Slam go through. We're gonna fire off a Fly anyways. I personally would have overfarmed slightly more than this, but honestly, I've not been keeping track of the energy, and it looks like we couldn't really overfarm there at all, as they are already at another Body Slam. But it doesn't really matter. The opponent, I think, might have undercharged that, which is a very smart play, but we're still able to outpace them. Fire off the Ancient Power. Ancient Power gets the KO there, and of course, 2 Sucker Punches takes out the Gastrodon, and we're able to take that game. Into next battle, not a great lead for us as we are seeing a Licky Licky. Of course, Rollout going to hit for super effective damage up against both Enamorus and the Moltres, but we're going to swap here, hoping to catch maybe a Shadow Ball, but it is just a Body Slam. Either way, of course, Miltank going to tank that a lot more comfortably than the Enamorus, so that still works out for us. We're going to fire for an Ice Beam here. Ice Beam and Thunderbolt going to deal the same damage as I mentioned, so it doesn't really matter which one we throw. However, I would say now that we've thrown an Ice Beam to just stick to throwing Ice Beams because we don't want to reveal that we're not on Body Slam, I guess. But either way, it doesn't really matter. We go for another Ice Beam here. Ice Beam is going to be no-shielded. We can now swap back into Enamorus. They come back in with the Licky Licky, but this should just be a Body Slam here. So we're going to no-shield. It is the Body Slam. We do just barely hang on. I think we're only making it to one charge move, so I personally would have gone for the Dazzling Gleam, but actually, because we get the KO there, it doesn't really make a difference there as they come in with the Giratina, get off one Shadow Claw to take us out. But now we're looking great here. We can, of course, come in with the Moltres. We're going to no-shield the first charge move, just a Dragon Claw, which is fine with us. We can actually no-shield the next move as well if we want to, but we are going to shield as they go for a Dragon Claw. At this point, I think we just spam Ancient Powers here, or we could just commit to a full fast move farm down. But either way, Ancient Power is going to be shielded by the opponent. We're already at Ancient Power number 2, and of course, Ancient Power will be grabbing the final shield. They swap back into Clefable, looking for the snipe, but we're able to read them like a book. Catch the charge, we've come back in with the Moltres, and at this point, I think we just safely shield this up, because this is going to do more damage, I assume, than a Dragon Claw from this Giratina. If they're on Ancient Power, then fair enough, but they haven't thrown it yet, so clearly not on Ancient Power. We can now just full send a Brave Bird. Brave Bird easily gets the KO there, and we're able to take that game. Into next battle, we see an opposing Galarian Moltres. This is a great lead matchup for us. However, we're going to go straight for a Fly here. Fly gonna be no-shielded. I personally would have farmed up to the Dazzling Gleam here, but either way, I think maybe they would have actually outpaced us to an Ancient Power before we got there, so maybe that was the right play. But they're going to swap into a Tentacruel. We can come in with the Miltank, and this is where having Thunderbolt full coverage is very nice for us. However, they do get a debuff with that Scald, which is definitely not ideal. We're going to go for back-to-back Thunderbolts here. First one, going to be no-shielded, but they will actually tank the next Thunderbolt reasonably comfortably as well. So honestly, not looking too good for us. However, they are going to use a shield anyways. At this point, we're not going to shield this up as the opponent goes for a Scald. Scald gets the KO there. They are able to flip switch advantage, but we can come in with the Moltres. The opponent swaps back into their own Moltres. We're actually going to undercharge this and then go for a Sucker Punch farm down. Nice play there. Nice catch by the opponent, but we're able to adapt. Undercharge, still get some farm, and they come in with a Gastrodon, and this is absolutely fine with us. We're going to go straight for the Brave Bird here, then probably just swap straight away into our Enamorus after grabbing the final shield there. And now, of course, the opponent will be firing off a charge move. It's just a Body Slam. We are going to go for the Fly after one Fairy Wind, throwing on good timing. Fly is going to be no shit, of course. All shields are down. And this one, we definitely just let this move go through. I think the opponent could have actually overfarmed here and then potentially swapped back into their Tentacruel. However, now at this point, we can just safely shield up the Scald there, go straight for an Ancient Power as soon as we get there. We don't care how much energy they've got. Gastrodon will not be able to take us down from this range. A Body Slam, not going to do much damage. They don't even get there anyways. And we're able to Sucker Punch, farm them down to take that game. Into the next battle, great lead for us. The opponent safe swaps into a Shadow Golurk, and this is also absolutely fine with us. The opponent gonna fire off a Dynamic Punch, dealing decent damage, but we can still commit to a full Sucker Punch farm down. They come back in with Pangoro. There's no point baiting here with an Ancient Power. We are full sending the Brave Bird. Brave Bird gonna be no-shielded. They come in with a Talonflame, and honestly, at this point, I feel like the opponent should just no-shield and let the Ancient Power go through, but it doesn't really matter. At this point, we can come in with the Miltank. It's gonna be instantly game over, and the opponent recognizes that, so they just concede the match. So that's gonna be it for today's video. If you did enjoy it, please make sure you leave a like, leave a comment letting me know, and as well, don't forget to respond to the question of the day if you haven't done so already. And if you want to see more content like this in the future, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications. That way you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. And if you want to take your support even further, you can now become a channel member with perks including early access to new videos, shoutouts at the end of each video, custom loyalty badges, and custom emojis to use in the comments. I want to say a massive thank you to everyone that has already become a channel member. Your support is greatly appreciated, and with that being said, thank you all so much for watching today's video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.